Now, you know in your heart that's wrong.
I know it's wrong, but I haven't lived in majority Muslim country. I've been on holiday, I've been there for a couple of months.
This ain't no Muslim majority country, this is London.
Yeah, but there's some areas which are more built up.
So don't you see a problem?
It depends, but there might be problems with people leaving Christianity to become Muslim. Like I've seen examples of English people who've left Christianity to become Muslim, and they face problems as well.
You understand that like the vast majority of English people are not even Christian and just claim that name culturally.
They're more proud of their parents and their grandparents being Christian.
Yeah. So like, I mean, do you know about the Nisar family? What happened to them? They were Pakistani Muslims. An entire family became Christian, and they lived in a Muslim area because they were Muslim and they lived in a majority Muslim area. This one family became Christian, and then their neighbours turned against them. Their friends who were Muslims turned against them. They started to suffer harassment. Their property started to be damaged, and then
was that an area mostly built up with Muslims?
Yes, and this was in
like
Bradford.
Segregated like Bradford. That's what they like
in
Bradford.
Yep.
And in London, I wouldn't have tasted that.
And then what resulted from that? What resulted from that is that people.
I'm going to go and pray in 5 minutes.
Yeah, people were physically attacked. They were physically attacked.
Did they have no Muslim sympathisers or Christians to come and protect them?
Well, I think, if I'm remembering the story properly, and I'm not saying that I do, I think that a Sikh who was passing by intervened. The guy was attacked with baseball bats. It's all caught on camera. It hit the national news.
So they go to the police and they charge them.
They went to the police, and you know what the police said? They went to the police multiple times about the harassment and the vandalism. The police said there's nothing that they can do. They just said to the family, you have to move out of Bradford. And then they escorted them out under armed guard. Out of Bradford.
I'm not justifying it.
I know you're not, and I'm not saying you are.
I'm just saying there's English people I personally know who've been tarnished and rejected by their families because they became Muslim.
Can you give me an example of where an English family have
I'm not going to quote people's names.
But can you give me an example where someone has been beat with a baseball bat because they've become a Muslim?
In England?
Yes.
No, I can't give you an example.
I'm giving you an example of where Muslims have physically attacked a Christian for leaving Islam. They beat him with a baseball bat. I know you do. I'm not saying you're trying to justify it. I don't accuse you. I'm not seeing you like everyone.
We're raised in London. Something like that is a bit strange and not familiar to me. You're talking about in segregated areas of northern England where some of those communities don't even say hello to an English person or
but this was a Pakistani Muslim who became a Christian. He was friends with his neighbours.
What you're saying is worse
they went to the same mosque. Yeah, his own the people that he had once considered friends turned against him. The guy's suffering from post-traumatic stress because of the attack. His name is Nisar. Go and look up his story.
You're saying that happened strictly because he turned...
Because he became a Christian. And the bishops failed him. They didn't help him. Yeah? But more to the point, yeah? I think that long before Muslims should push this industry about, you got to deal with Islamophobia, the Muslim community's got to deal with Christophobia.
Can't you deal with both at the same time?
I think
I'm
you
not
can.
going to put Islamophobia to one side.
I think you should deal with both at the same time. However, what I see in our society is the fact that we have the state banging on about Islamophobia and totally silent about Christophobia.
Most of the plots to go and blow up mosques and stuff like that, they don't get main headlines.
Tell me, when was the last politician you heard mention the word Christophobia?
Well, I haven't heard many people mention Christophobia.
Has Theresa May spoke about Islamophobia?
She's mentioned it, but they haven't tackled it. It's just a lot of it's hot air. Most of the cases, if you go and research, honestly, if you go and research online cases of people like National Action and subordinates of them driving towards mosques with explosives, with weapons, you can't find me another case of a Muslim driving to a church doing that.
Excuse me, hold on one second.
Not by sheer numbers.
Well, hold on one second.
I'm not talking about the main terrorist
let's just be clear. Let's just be clear, right? In this country, there have been terrorist attacks by groups like, extreme ethno-nationalist groups, and I condemn them all.
I'm saying they don't get the headlines, they come as a little snippet at the end.
They are dwarfed in number of the number of conspiracies broken up by MI5 of Islamist plots to kill innocent people in this country.
I can't confirm
That's just a fact. And this is the point I would say to you, bro, is that
I'm not turning a blind eye to them and just.
what-
I'm not magnifying
Like,
what the Christians are doing.
the
I'm just
Christians,
saying.
did you just equate national action with
okay,
Christians?
the non-Muslims, however you want to class it.
Let's be clear, like Christians.
Okay, but some of them
don't
claim
do
Christianity, don't
terrorism.
they? Okay, but a lot of these National Action and Britain First and Tommy Robinson fans, they claim this is a Christian country. We want our country to be back Christian. That's what they say. That's quote what they say.
Yeah, they do. But let's be clear about.
Same as the Muslims are saying they're going to commit these terrorist acts. They're just claiming to be Muslim.
But let's be clear. When
So
you know,
you can't
when,
say for one.
let's just deal with
he's
that.
not Christian.
With
and then
groups
he's
like
not
Britain
Muslim.
First, with groups like Britain First, who talk about
Half of
this
their posts
country,
have got a cross on it
this
claiming
country
Christianity.
being Christian, they are not claiming Christianity in any way other than as a cultural moniker.
I don't think it's fair for you to jump in people like Paul Golding's
But
shoes
I
and
noticed,
say what he's claiming.
I noticed you quickly as you could got off the topic of the Christophobic prejudice amongst the Muslim. How many times have we seen or heard in the media of Muslims being arrested for vandalising Christian churches in this country? Because it happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
But it's not reported in the same
But
way.
the
In the same way that those idiots who put bacon on a mosque or chuck a pig's head on a mosque, it's not reported in the same way.
At the same time, I'll be honest with you. Most of those incidents that take place, I don't find them on BBC or ITV. You might find a
Yes,
fraction
you do.
of them. No,
We
a
hear
fraction
about
of
them
them
all
you
the
do. Most of them you find it like Muslim newsletters, people like Tell Mama, NGOs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where most of the stories you'll find. You only find a fraction of what happens to Muslims in this country on the news.
Why do-
Even in your community, someone getting spat on, women with niqabs on, being harassed up. I know people with wives with niqabs,
I
and they
think-
tell me it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Harassment, yeah. Bus stops,
You mean
by
like
school
you mean like
children,
the, you
by
mean like
normal
the
everyday people.
You mean like the Christian couple where the Muslim had converted to Christianity and they are being harassed in the streets of London because she converted to Christianity because she fell in love
Yeah, but
with
I'm
a
not
Christian
denying
man.
that's happening.
I'm not denying
All,
it's-
all
I'm
I'm
not
trying
denying-
to say.
I'm not
all
denying
my
Islamophobia.
all my argument is where you said, "Oh, Islamophobia has been highlighted so much in the media."
It has.
But phobia
They've even got a word.
against Christians, yeah, it is not. What I'm saying, even if it is, it's just mouth work. On the ground, there's no safeguarding, there's no support. There's nothing to come and help the Muslim community when they get attacked. They just send their little article to Tell Mama. It gets put on Facebook, a few comments, and then rolled
Let's
over.
be clear.
That's what happens.
Let's be clear.
Even if
No, I'm
Theresa
sorry.
May is mentioning it,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
there's
but
nothing much happening on the
I'm sorry.
ground.
The very fact that there's even a word called Islamophobia and no equivalent about Christophobia.
Yeah, but that's not
in
something
this
to take up
country.
with a Muslim.
Do you
though,
mind
is
if
it?
I can speak?
That's something to take
Do you
up
mind
with
if
the
I
media.
can speak?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, in terms the fact that there's this entire industry around Islamophobia, but there's no counter narrative about the Christophobia emanating from within the Muslim community demonstrates
time-
demonstrates both a conceit for those who are speaking for the Muslim community because they won't talk about Christophobia amongst Muslims, but also a profound
It's a general-
ignorance
it's a
of
bit general, that
political correctness by the liberal establishment who talk tolerance but only want to deal with certain
Yeah, but
kinds
you
of
just
prejudice.
made my point. I'm saying Theresa May talking about Islamophobia or something. It's talk. On the ground, when these things happen, when attacks happen, and the next day our mothers and sisters want to wear their headscarf in a different way, not to be noticed as Muslim or stay in the house. You're not there. You're not sitting there feeling that psychological trauma.
You're not.
That's
You're,
what I'm trying
yeah,
to
but
tell
you're
you.
not sitting there feeling the psychological
Yeah, but I'm
trauma
not-
of
yeah, but I'm not
ex-Muslims
telling
who are
you-
being harassed in
That's
this country.
fine. That's fine, but I'm not telling you that Christianophobia and Islamophobia is lesser than the other. You're telling me that there's a focus on Islamophobia.
There is.
But nothing's being done about it. How come it's getting worse if there's such a focus
Right, so
on it?
let's just deal with that, right? We have a whole system of propaganda and education in this country tackling Islamophobia. The very fact that we have a term, one second, the very fact that we have a term, Islamophobia, means that there is a discourse about the topic because it has created a new word that didn't exist in the English language before.
I agree, maybe there's more discourse.
Right, but that same level of discourse about Christophobia emanating from among certain sections of the Muslim community, there is no discourse about it whatsoever. At all. And the very fact that Theresa May has mentioned Islamophobia and spoken against Islamophobia, but has never spoken against the Christophobia emanating from the Muslim community, or sections of it to be more accurate, demonstrates the fact that our liberal state has more of a focus on prejudice against you as a Muslim than they do about prejudice against me as a Christian.
If I accept that point, will you also accept that there's more of an industry bashing Islam and trying to give it a bad name than there is Christianity? Will you accept that?
I would
This whole flood of the far right, which is coming into Europe, backed by Bannon, would you say it's got more money and funding Muslims trying to bash Islam, bash Christianity and give it a bad name online?
So let me address that point directly. There are definitely those who are seeking to resist Islamization. And many,
that's not fair. I was telling you to mock Islam, not resist Islamization.
Can I reply? Yeah. There are definitely those who are organising to resist Islamization, and some of that is legitimate. It's good. Some of it is wrong, and those that simply target Muslims violently or in any way just because they are Muslim, for me, I condemn. But those who seek to prevent Islamization legally, through politics, through the use of economics, through the use of religious discourse, those people I support because I'm against Islamization.
Haven't you found that it's all just merged into one big group? So how can I stand by this group on the one hand, and they want to fight things like grooming gangs and extremism, and on the other hand they're like defaming my religion? I can't stand by them and support them.
I do want to address the fullness of your question, because the fact of the matter is, what's happened in Western Europe is that it has become politically acceptable to attack the Christian faith, to mock Christians, and Christians have made themselves the doormats of the world.
I've never accepted
because we're like,
I'm
not saying you did. I mean, I talk to you like I do because me and you, I think, have got a decent rapport. But the point is that Christians, like The Guardian is a national newspaper that regularly villainises Christians. Channel 4 ran a documentary villainising Christians for standing against abortion, and it was totally acceptable. The BBC broadcast the Jerry Springer opera mocking the Christian faith, but refused to publish the cartoons that were mocking Muhammad. So it has become acceptable to mock
I agree with you on that
Christian
point,
faith.
that even growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, people used to make jokes about religion and Christianity and Jesus, and I never accepted it.
I know, I'm not saying
maybe
you
having some Christian family and thinking of them, I didn't accept it.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends that grew up, and some of these people you're talking about, and a lot of them that are in this drive against Islamization, they were the guys taking the mickey out of Christianity and Jesus.
Yeah, I know. This is why I would say to all of these people that are in groups like the EDL and the DFLA and all these other and all of those kind of groups, I would say to you that if all you're doing is hating Islam, if that's all you can do, give it up, because you're fighting to a dead end. If you can't offer something better than Islam, shut up. If you aren't willing to reclaim your Christian heritage, stop whinging about Islamization, because the way to defeat Islamization is to stand solidly on something better than Islam. And there is something better than Islam. It's called being a disciple of Christ. It's called being a Christian. Because just to be clear, I've made no secret about it. I am against Islam.
Yeah,
I'm against Islamization.
That's why we're here discussing it.
Yeah, but I would not, unless you took up arms against me, I would not justify anyone taking up arms against you.
I've got to go and pray, but I just want to say that everyone busying themselves with discrediting other people's religions or Christianity, where you might find it in the park. If you spent as much time judging yourself, you'd be 10 times better than any human in the park. So.
A sentiment I agree with.
All right.
You
I've got to go and pray, man.
Look after yourself.
Look after yourself.
Have a nice Salah. Speak to you soon.